Ora parliamo degli italiani in Canada, molti dei quali arrivati qui verso la metà del secolo scorso, qualcuno anche prima, che hanno contribuito a costruire questo paese vedendolo anche cambiare profondamente, a cominciare dalla comunità attorno a loro e il servizio.
È vero, St. Clair Avenue West, Corso Italia, è diventato un simbolo della comunità italo-canadese a Toronto. Ma lo è diventato negli anni 70 del secolo scorso, mentre gli italiani sono arrivati in città ben prima. Come la famiglia di Sam Genova, originaria di Vita, provincia di Trapani, Sicilia. Il nonno aveva lavorato in Canada, ma non avrebbe voluto tornarci.
My grandmother, Genova, had a sister who wanted to come here, and so they dragged my grandfather begrudgingly to Canada to what he called that frozen hell, okay? So that's about 1914. He comes back again with his wife, and his first son is born in Vita, and then my father and his brothers, so there's 3 brothers, are here in Canada.
Una famiglia che si sistema vendendo frutta, banane in particolare vendute agli angoli di strada. Poi un po' di successo e un negozio in cui crescere, casa e bottega.
Then they got more successful, and my grandfather bought a property on Bloor Street near High Park, 1582 Bloor. It's at Bloor and Dundas, roughly speaking. And his brother-in-law, their name is Bongiorno, they opened a store in Mount Pleasant. So they were now in the fruit business, and that's what our family did. And so my father grew up in the grocery store, and I grew up in the grocery store.
Attenzione, una storia che sembra simile a quella di tanti venuti dopo. Sempre di lavoro, matrimonio, famiglia da mantenere si tratta. Ma St. Clair Avenue in quegli anni era quasi fuori città e il multiculturalismo ancora di là da venire.
The first generation, my father, he spoke Italian and English, but they wanted desperately for me to be a good little Canadian. So I was brought up and I went to a school on Keele Street, and I was the only Italian there. There were McPherson and McFarland and O'Connor and Baker and Genova, okay, the WAP, okay, and but I was never, no prejudice. There was no prejudice, and people shopped in our store.
Il punto è che fino alla grande immigrazione del secondo dopoguerra, gli italiani arrivati a Toronto non necessariamente lavoravano soprattutto in costruzioni e neppure abitavano a St. Clair o College Street. Abitavano nel cosiddetto Ward, la zona dove adesso sorgono ospedali come Toronto General e Sick Kids.
And that was a slum area, the immigrant reception area. It was primarily Jewish because the Jewish people could walk across Bay Street and work for Mr. Eaton in the needle trade. The Italians were there too, the Gliona family, they had a hotel, and that's where the Padroni was, etc., etc. But there were also Italians, if any Italian who had a house that was big enough took in boarders, laborers, and there were areas like down around Queen in Parliament that were built, a little Italian community there. And of course, what then happened when they built the new city hall to move people out of there, the Jews and the Italians and the Hungarians and the black, because it was a real mix. It was the immigrant reception area. They built the Toronto General Hospital. So who can argue with the hospital, okay? So then they built Sick Kids, and they built this and that, and finally the Jews left and they went to Kensington. And the Italians left and they primarily went to College Street. And that's where Johnny Lombardi was, okay? That's where Koffler was, who became Chopper's Dugmar. That's where Sam, the record man, started. All of these people were there. And that was a very vibrant community, okay? I remember seeing people, men, about maybe 200 men outside of a radio store, because on shortwave they are listening to the World Cup. They were listening to the World Cup, not viewing it.
Da College poi a St. Clair e da qui alla regione di York, Vaughan, Woodbridge.
Our Italianness is because people gather in the fall to make, take the tomatoes and make the salsa, or they make the wine and all those traditions, you know, where the family comes together in the garage and makes it all this thing, or they celebrate the religious holidays, you know, the traditional care, if you care to. But there are those, are you, enough. You know, I'm a Canadian, but I'm a proud Canadian Italian, especially Sicilian.
Ovunque si spostino, ormai gli italo-canadesi a Toronto, e non solo, si riconoscono per le tradizioni, non il quartiere. Gianpietro Nagliati, OMNI News, Toronto.